Good morning, world. How are you? Well, let's see. What's going on? They're still talking about the Epstein files, and they're saying all the famous names that are in there. What, for hooking up for sex? I got no problem with that, folks. I'm sorry. They want to have an orgy. That's their problem. That's something they have to deal with. The feedback or whatever that comes out of that, that's their problem. Any diseases they get, that's their problem. Unless they don't go around notifying people that they have these diseases, like syphilis or something like that, AIDS. But in terms of their ability to go out and have sex with whoever they want to have sex with, as far as I know, that's not a crime, although it is in some states. Anal sex, things like that are, but they didn't do it in this country. Apparently, they did it on an island. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, there's no crime. But pedophilia, now that's a different story. There is no cure for pedophilia, all right? And if they want to go out with 15 and 16-year-old women, supposedly virgins, and have sex because, what, their wives weren't virgins when they married them? Well, then, let's just take them out to a field and shoot them. But you should end up shooting a third of the country or something like that. There's an amazing amount of people involved in this pedophilia. How do you think it stays in business? I've written about it. I've seen other people write about it. I've seen stories of books written about it. The scope is unbelievable. Nobody really understands that. The scope of how many people are involved in this just would absolutely ruin you. You wouldn't be able to sleep at nights if you saw that. That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do something about it, but you gotta be able to prove what you're saying, and that's the hard part. Knowing that this is going on, and proving that it's going on, and proving that these people are actually involved in it, is a problem. Now that's where the Epstein files come into play. Supposedly, from what I'm being told over the last few days or whatever, there are, man, my arm's bleeding bad. There are names and photographs which would be construed as absolute proof of these famous people engaging in pedophilia. Now, none of these crimes, supposedly, these crimes all took place where the laws really are going to be hard to enforce. But if you follow these people, you'll realize that they must have done something in this country. So that's something they want to look into. And since probably a third of based upon the statistics that I'm reading in the last year or so, a third of these people that are sitting in Congress, at least a minimum of a third, have engaged in some form of pedophilia. I don't care if a senator is fucking a congressman, that doesn't bother me. That's their problem, not mine. All right? My problem is when they start messing with kids. Because kids don't have the ability to make a decision like that. They don't understand what's going on. Not the fact that it's wrong, it's what they're doing to them, It's like, I forgot the term again. This is my mind working at me. When you're banging your cousin, all right? First cousin, second cousin, they say there's really no law against that. They say, yeah, there is. But the deal is that until you have a child, there's really no harm being done physically. The children are the ones that come out screwed up, mentally and physically. So there again, people are looking at this and they're hearing me talk and they say, you're out of your fucking mind, this is illegal. What's illegal? He owned the island. He made the laws, apparently. There's nothing you can do about this from a legal standpoint. From a public persecution standpoint, sure, that's what they're looking for. The Republicans are looking for the Democrats are looking for the Republicans. You know, they say Trump is a pedophile. If Trump is a pedophile, they should be taken out, again, dragged out of office in chains, put against a wall, and shot to death. Okay? Now, does that sound drastic? If he's a pedophile, if they have absolute conclusive proof, not rumors, not the picture of him with his arm around some young kid. That's not it. That does not constitute proof of pedophilia, in my mind. That's an overly affectionate asshole, you know. But if he has sex with them, cut it off, shoot him, whatever you want to do, it's okay with me. I don't care who he is, president, vice president, chief justice, the guy running the candy store. I don't care. That is a penalty, that is a crime that needs to have the death penalty applied. Because I told you this story before. Years ago, there was this guy raping boys on the rooftops in New York City. They caught him. Big, heavy-set, that guy. First thing that comes to my mind is the physicality of this little boy and this monster. How the hell is he doing what they say he did? You know? I don't understand that. I don't understand the attraction. All right? You know, especially for someone, you know, when you're dealing with young boys like that. I don't understand the attraction. Apparently, it's these people want to attack innocence. That's what gets them off. Possessing innocence, you know? Or it was done to them, and now there's, don't know if it was done to them, and you know how horrible it was. Why would you do it to somebody else? But I'm not enough of a psychologist or trained in that field to understand that at all. It's just so many things I don't understand about that, you know, and people say, what do you mean you don't understand it? Well, you try to figure it out. You tell me if you have an answer for it. I don't know, shrinks that. But anyhow, getting back to the story I was telling you about, this guy, the rooftop rapist or whatever he was called back then. We're talking about, I think, 50, 60, something like that. He gets arrested, he gets out, he does it again. You know, and this is like, he's now a 3-time loser. He's in, or something, or he's second time in or something like that. I don't know what it is. Anyhow, they decide that somebody decides they're going to interview him, some news program or something like that, and that wasn't on TV in those days, so it was a long time ago. It was on the, you know, they printed the interview, and in the interview he states that I should never be allowed out again, because if I get out, I will do it again. He said, I have tried unsuccessfully, you know, basically this is not the language he used, but because he was just, you know, yelling and he was ranting and raving about this. He says, if I get out again, I'm going to do it again because I can't help myself. That's what I want. You want the blonde on the corner, and I want the little boy standing next to him. I can't help myself. I was born this way. It's not something you fall into, and it's not something that can be cured by science. Castration, we use something else. We'll do something else, just as long as we get to hold the child. You know? That's all it's about. Physical castration does not stop the desire. Pulling his brain out through his ears might. And I don't believe that I should have to... My thing about the death penalty is I don't believe I should have to pay to have some asshole that somebody like Trump may one day pardon back out on the streets. Excuse me. You know, I get upset when I do that. Talk about that shit. It really bothers me. The part that bothers me the most is I, in a lot of cases, can't comprehend the physical nature of this, you know. when you're looking at a pubescent girl, I can look. I'll admit I have seen, especially when I was a bouncer as a bartender, and these girls, these 15, 16, 17-year-old girls would get all made up and everything and walk into the bar. And you couldn't tell how old they were. That part I understand. But not a 9-year-old. I don't figure that out. And what I'm saying to you is what I said before. I said the only thing that they can be going after is to possess the innocence. In some strange manner, they're trying to go back in time or something with this. You know? But these people aren't curable. All right? Like homosexuality is not curable. Okay? Somebody once said to me that he believed that everybody was born bisexual, and at some point in time they make a decision. Well, there are a lot of animals that way. There animals and insects. There's several different types of whatnot that are born that way. They're born what they call I don't know if it's the term asexual or what, but they're born without a particular desire. They're taught that. You know, it's sexuality is a learned behavior. All right, you don't come out of you don't grow up out of the womb without any influences on you as a great lover or a sexual deviant or anything like that. These are learned behaviors. How they're learned depends on your environment, I guess. But Epstein is, he basically made a lot of money out of that, and that was his big deal. He's like Trump. He's a money-hungry little motherfucker, with no conscience. And he liked the attention he got. He liked the party atmosphere. We all do. Let's face it. We all like a good party. We all like to hang out. A lot of people like the freedom of the 60s. The 60s weren't free. People paid consequences for their actions. A lot of unwed mothers and stuff like that, but no cruelty. Cruelty was never accepted by anybody. But Trump accepts cruelty. I think it's a good thing Trump's out of the public arena right now, because unless they're bringing him girls and we don't know about it, which is a possibility. Go to North Korea for a visit, he's in the motel room or hotel room with enough security to stop, an invasion, and they bring a little girl to him. That's possible. I don't know. I'm not saying what I've said before, I'll say now. Simply accusing somebody of pedophilia because he's associated with the known pedophiliac and visits an island that he owns. And I'm not defending Trump's behavior. I'm just stating this is from a legal standpoint. You have no proof, just because it's their word against his or your word against his, whatever, of pedophilia. If they have photographic evidence of him in bed with a naked woman, naked little girl, then yeah, that's pedophilia, and that guy should be dragged out of the building, put against the wall, and shot right then and there. Because like I said, there's no friggin' cure for this stuff, all right? Now have I got everybody upset? The reason I'm saying this, and I'm going through like this, and I'm saying there's no cure and all this, is because people are paying too much attention to the Epstein files. You got a president that wants to nationalize the elections, which means that all elections are the same everywhere, would be governed by the U.S. government, which would take away a lot of votes. Thousands and thousands of votes would simply disappear because of Trump. All right? And that would then leave no alternative for people but a revolution. All right? Because you'd never be able to get rid of the rest of them either. And that's the problem. That's what people don't understand. It's not just Trump. It never was just Trump. Trump could not do what he's doing if it was just him. I don't care if he's president. He doesn't have that kind of power. Okay, these are people around him that are interested in the same things, white supremacy. Okay? Until they wake up and find out that it's just not going to work. Didn't work in South Africa. It doesn't work in other countries. The black supremacy doesn't work either. Look what Nigeria, all the problems they have over there. We need a balance of nature. And if you don't have that balance of nature, you're going to have deviance. You know? And we have deviance. Alright, look, it's Tuesday. I'm all fired up today, baby. Let me tell you. I'd probably be fall asleep by the time I do the live video. But anyhow, go hit the subscribe button, folks. You can listen to me rant and rave senselessly or forgetting what I'm talking about, you know, all those good things, watching a guy go crazy in old age. Or you can just turn on the news and watch Donald Trump. But in the meantime, subscribe to my video blog here and the live videos too. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notifications of when I go live, whenever I'm doing anything, you know, posting a video, not necessarily this, or I share a video or something, you'll find out about it. So go there, hit the subscribe button, and if you want, comment, okay? I know Jim's writing about 17 comments right now to post to this video, so we'll see what happens later. Anyhow, take care, and I will see you tomorrow.